Lads and gents, today we'll be having ourselves a vast voyage upon one of, if not the most underrated YouTube series in history. On the 11th of February 2023, a video made its entrance into YouTube. An introduction by Barry Saga for a series called Project Earth. At a personal first glance, it was obvious that this was something I needed to cover. Up until now, it only has one season to offer, with 6 episodes that will act as our main income of information alongside the website links provided in each episode's description. All combines into a series that I'll consider an ARG due to the amount of hidden treasure it has to offer, and it is nothing short of a hidden gem. The channel hasn't found the success it deserves, so before we begin anything, please head over to there and offer any support by checking out their content, which you can do after or before this video, as I will be leaving the channel's link down in the description. Since inside the ARG itself, he stated if the series finds success, maybe a second season could follow along. A mix of comedy, depth, and disturbing realizations leaves us in front of a large mystery and its wonders, taking our steps and diving deep into the core of Project Earth. Terranova Industries, the world's largest company, vanished without a trace, as it was steeped in controversy on its claims of researching other worlds and the multiverse. A Terranova researcher explains what the company's goals are and what they've achieved. Discovering the multiverse, we're given a brief explanation on it, and to put it in perspective, I'll let this dude take over.
Well, imagine a simple straight line that continues moving along. This represents your life. You wake up one morning and decide whether to have waffles or pancakes for breakfast. You eventually go for waffles. By making that decision, our main line continues moving along, but a completely new one can be seen branching off. Because you made that choice on what to eat, you unknowingly created a whole new reality where you decided to have pancakes instead of waffles.
And that repeats for each decision, which creates a separate timeline that goes on to branch out forever. Throwing it to cut, in the last few seconds, once the camera tilts up, there is a noticeable splatter of blood on the ceiling. Turning the page now over to gain more information from their website, Harold Exton, the owner of Terranova, is invited to an interview with Maggie Jones, where he gives us the details on how the project will be demonstrated. At first, they found Greg Sellers, someone who hasn't found much success in his life besides his marriage, which is questioned as success by Harold, who's apparently done that 5 times. Huh? Using their technology that will scout different realities in order to find more exciting versions of Greg. The device is a TV-built-like box known as the Intellectual Creativity Engine, also ICE for short. As of current, it's stated that it can't be used for transportation, but only for generation of small objects such as newspapers. As of the current date, there is only 1 season, and Harold does think there could be room for a second if all goes well. If it doesn't, everyone working there will be fired, so yet again, show some love. With it is the explanation of how the project will work. Now all we seek are the results and answers, so away from the intro and on to the first episode. It's all started with Greg Sellers in a studio, handed a remote and sat in front of the ICE. Booting up the machine, the company's assumed to be mascot describes the protagonist as an ordinary, average, boring man. Greg has a wife, Christine, and 2 kids, which are the joy of his life.
You know what? That's pretty unboring if you ask me.
Being the test subject, he's given the option of what alternate version of himself he'd like to see. Greg here has always been a fan of filmmaking ever since a child. He's created multiple movie scripts in the hope of putting himself out there for a shot at his dream.
You know, if it worked for Tarantino, why not Gregorino? Can we cut that out?
No.
But since his family and friends got in the way, he sadly couldn't focus on that dream, and now he'll see what would have happened if he took a different path. Scouting over 700,000 realities, the so-titled Earth 2.0 contains Greg, who unlike in this timeline, skipped his friend's wedding to continue his shift at the cinema, where he saved a famous producer's life in the popcorn incident, resulting in a close relationship where Greg gained the spotlight to show his work, which ended up being a great success. One of the examples being Murder Stoppers.
Alone, they are simple cops.
Tonight, we aren't just cops, we're justice-ers.
But together, they are Murder Stoppers.
I know, absolute cinema. Being put out to such fame, it ended up with Greg being called out by his best friend whose wedding he ditched for a lucky shot. As for his own, Greg still married Christine, having only one child named Grass. A divorce followed and 3 more to come, which doesn't surprise me because Grass, really? His life goes south as his movie career crashes, followed with him working as a teacher in his hometown and attempting to patch up the wounds he caused.
5.
That went south so fast! I was on a good run.
The original Greg gives us a warm goodbye, setting a foundation with it on how this project will run and putting curiosity up for everyone to see what other Gregs will be showcased and what dark truth hides behind this innocent front. Like previously, the website gained from the description has yet another interview about Greg and his wife Christine, where even she confirms Greg's life is boring. I'm sorry, Greg. There's extra explanations on how Greg applied for this experiment online and that Christine is very supportive of it. For now. They continue talking about their thoughts on the episodes and how only 3 have been filmed as of yet, which does come in later as to why. Tracking back to the YouTube channel, a fun addition to the first episode is the YouTube short which shows an emergency call from the cinema in the original reality.
911, what's your emergency?
Help! We're in trouble at the Rosalie Cineplex. Please send someone, anyone, EMTs, paramedics, FBI, National Guard!
Sir, calm down. What is going on at the Cineplex?
Oh God, the kernels! The popcorn kernels! Sound the alarm! School is canceled, fucking emergency! People are down! It's like a goddamn tornado full of gore in here! The kernels! The kernels!
Sir?
The most disturbing factor of all of this is the hospitalization of 14 people who were all tragically part of the infamous popcorn incident. Joining Greg this episode will be his best friend Tom, who is asked what version of himself he would like to see, and Tom's wish is a news anchor. Unbelievable. Skipping that tragedy, we visit a universe where Greg never met his father. In Earth 3.0, his dad is killed in an accident that leads to Greg now looking up to his mother instead, as she was more of a political person. Turning out to be a kid wonder and one looked up by many, he became...
Wait. No. Don't tell me I become... Don't tell me I become...
What do you think you're gonna be?
I'm not gonna say it, but I'm really excited!
Is he gonna become a news anchor?
I hope not!
Yes, Greg became the 42nd president of America, with Tom being the vice president.
There he goes. He's going for a little walk, I see.
Is this happening? Is this for real?
This is legit.
This is legit! I am the president!
Congratulations, man.
Yes!
I believe Tom's the vice president, too.
What?
Who let this happen in the first place? I mean, look at Tom! His first moves as president were to focus on legalizing marijuana, focus less on war, and more into having the country feel like a utopia. And as if shirtless speeches weren't enough, aliens end up being discovered and Tom even marries one. Also having a baby named Zorak. Bleach, okay? Bleach.
President Sellers and Vice President Wilson brought peace not only among Earth, but the entire galaxy.
As we reach the final moments of the second part, we can also view an interview between Greg and Tom, which shows their opinions on the first episode, as it is cut short due to Greg feeling under the weather. The third episode features Greg's wife. Seeing what's on the agenda of realities, the TV suddenly begins throwing out random frames that show what I assume to be two different Gregs, a detective and an astronaut. The video crumbles as the attention is switched to Greg's wife, Christine. This reality displays what were to happen if Greg would join her on a ghost hunting adventure that would have the couple become world famous for proving the existence of an afterlife.
Ghosts, if you're out there, give us a sign. Echo. Did you hear that? I think it said hello.
As the view shows a desert, and the view zooming into a giant egg being held, slowly cracking and even bleeding. Glitch frames display the egg exploding, turning into a heart, and the world behind it completely molten. As all of this is happening, the subtitles continue normally, with Greg feeling like he's here, but not. Also claiming they can't be seen anymore. More frames also pop out of the ICE device and multiple pictures of Greg alongside it. Abruptly ending it, we return to how Greg's ghost hunting show is cancelled as ghosts became oversaturated. If those were even ghosts. A scientific paper showed that these ghosts are humans from other realities slipping into theirs due to the multiverse collapsing in on itself. Wait, what? As Christine mentions she hasn't heard of the multiverse falling apart, we're treated to a dark scene with the subtitles reading out, "You will." The outro is ran and the video finishes, having us question whatever the reason for the multiverse collapsing may be. If you go to the About tab on the website, you can spot a lightning stray at the bottom of the page, which opens up an Easter egg that shows Tom's story from Earth 3.0. Nova Plus being an online store that delivers to 1011 Pickleview, as you can read about Tom's romantic journey with his wife from Vlorgnarb. There's all sorts of mixed reviews as well, with the one catching my eye being a mention of the book spontaneously combusting. Now if you want to read the sample of the book, just follow what I did to get here, and if you're wondering, yes, this book is also written in Vlorgnese for all you finger pissers. On the blog there's also an article on the raining cow incident, where over 7,000 cows fell from the sky causing over $1 million in damages. All fingers were pointed towards Terranova at that time, as they simply refused any claims or further comments on the situation, which brings suspicion on what Terranova may be causing. As for the very last article, it's an announcement on a 24-hour livestream featuring John O'Malley on the Eagle radio show broadcasted on June 21st, giving his theories on all sorts of things such as Bigfoot's secret identity, lizard people, and much more. While I didn't take much from the stream itself, it was the link in the description, which you can also access by clicking the phone cord on the contact page. It brings you to a website displaying a red phone and a number dial. There are all sorts of numbers here to cover, and skipping the majority of the less important ones to put you through the dial of interest, here are the following calls to keep an ear out for. Some of these calls just get hung up by the receiver due to them not hearing anyone from our side.
Hello? Hello?
But some of them tend to be a bit different. Like call 344, where another set of clues appear around our lovely egg mascot, the call conveying this.
All hail the mighty egg! Wait, what? Where are they? Guys, why the hell did we come up here? Guys? What are you doing? Bring forth the whisk! The whisk! The what? Bring forth the whisk! The whisk! What's the whisk? Oh my god! Oh my god, it's literally just a giant whisk! Oh my god!
The remaining calls don't make sense alone, as they're solved by running them through a spectrogram, which I did with Audacity. And following the previous step, I won't be including ones that don't stand out, like what do you mean glob glob blib knob Tom? Probably the alien asking for some Tom dick. Some spectrograms reference a comic book series on Barry Saga's channel, so I'll be skipping those. The first one I look out for is the one that speaks as if from a perspective of Greg's parent. I see nothing anymore, just darkness, but I still hear the world whisper. My poor boy, you're not boring, you never were, I wish I was there to tell you. Not much of a clue for now, so we continue to ones from a view of a Terranova researcher or maybe even the owner. There were more of them, just our luck. Too young to control their thoughts, so we did it for them. And a similar one saying, I couldn't believe it. The child was real. His imaginary friends, real. Both talk about children. As much as we can speculate, I'll rather just leave these spectrograms for later to connect back to. You've already been completely overthrown by this information, and let me give you another kicker. If we head over to the blog tab, another stray is spotted. As usual, selecting it gives us a ticket to HBO, this universe's movie streaming platform, which doesn't offer much besides a full schedule which you need a password for. Now, I came back to this while editing and have found out the password, which is Fane is coming. And with this, we struck gold. The transcripts all speak about Dr. PJ's experience on searching through the forests surrounding Rose Lake, the city where Greg is from. And while on a path, a member of the team slipped into a hole that uncovered an underground temple-like structure dated to be almost 2 million years old. While scouting the place, there's an uneasy feeling of being watched as one of the researchers claims they saw carvings depicting someone they've been monitoring. Greg Sellers. The stonework seemed to surround a centered stone coffin. Hearing noises, they used a bioscanner and discovered something inside the coffin is still alive. The decipher at the footing of the coffin is translated to, "Your sacrifice was humanity's savior." Later on, after leaving the area, the team members were still affected by the presence of the temple, Dr. PJ even stating the thing inside the coffin asked him to let him out. Now, on the page there's also an image included with ciphertext, and thanks to the help of Reddit user can_T_relate, who translated it to be very of where you tread. The dome must never be opened. Locked below is an entity beyond imagination. Risks of annihilation if ever to be messed with. No place will hold them forever, but we can try to stay far away. All of this will hopefully connect later on, as I'll be setting a checkpoint here to summarize what we've gone over. With the videos in general, there have been views that seem out of order, focused towards the egg mascot being a deity of sorts that Terranova praise, which includes human sacrifice and world destruction. The temple discussion from earlier does show a possibility of Greg being the chosen one or of some sort of importance. I am a bit skeptical about the subtitles that show up at the very end of the second video, and I have no clue if it's a sort of threat, warning, or anything even remotely close. The phone calls lean in towards eerie imagery in most of all messages, the more outstanding one being, "I see nothing anymore, just darkness, but I still hear the world whisper, my poor boy, you're not boring, you never were, I wish I was there to tell you." This is a straight arrow for Greg's parent or someone close who is now in darkness just like us, so let's head towards the light and seek out more knowledge. Greg walks in pretty messed up. The intro runs as we can spot a face in the top left of the page and cracks. That also switches to the title of the video or even a possible warning, Run Greg. Turning on the episode, Greg's described as an impeccable, incredible, and fabulous man this time, which catches him off guard.
That's new. You guys finally realized I was hurting my feelings? Hello? Okay.
You begin showing signs of major discomfort and confusion.
Sure. I'm sorry, guys. Just need a minute. Okay. Sorry. Okay, I can do this. Just power through.
The video plays a reality where he's an astronaut, which is all fine until Captain Greg states to see something.
Houston, this is Captain Sellers. Seeing something strange outside the command module. Sending you footage now. Houston, please. Houston, please.
Footage cuts off with screams and he's never to be heard from again. He and his crew are classed as missing that have had the public investigating and creating theories. The prime example being John O'Malley's Eagle radio show, who claims the government is deceiving them as there are no records of Greg visiting any school for his expertise. Greg stops the video due to his head killing him and wants to get some fresh air. That doesn't go well for him.
It's not coming out for weeks, okay? My head is killing me and I just want to get some air.
Greg, sit back down.
Excuse me?
Sit down.
Dude, we can sort this out another time, all right? Get off me! Hey, what the?
The episode displays that the company is forcing him to cooperate, but what's up with Greg? Why the sudden change in his mind? To figure that out, I yet again visited the linked web. On the homepage, I clicked Ctrl+A to look for any hidden text and came across a lot. We see what seems to be a conversation. Wait, do you see that? What is it? Did you guys find anything on your end? I'm getting a little worried. We need to check the blog, like, right now. But my eyes weren't set on this. It was that there was a new tab at the very top titled The Meetup. We'll get to that later because to connect the dots to it, we'll check out the blog section first. There's 2 new additions added, the first one being addressing allegations. The allegations accuse reports of Greg being kept and denied from any contact with Christine and Tom. Terranova guarantee his safety and claim it's a priority on their list, which I heavily doubt. Having included that Greg may be being held hostage, we take a look at Article 2 posted on June 20th, known as The Events That Unfolded. The top displays Eagle Radio's Patriot Hour, the previously announced broadcast with John O'Malley, as the key factor here is in the show itself where John O'Malley received a poem by someone going by the letter T. Shortening the poem as it speaks of a hidden area which can be found by searching for the digits 115 on a lively street, on the 35th Saturday we should gather allies to help out with uncovering secrets. It may just be me, but I feel like the only person who would do this and has any connection to the title T is Tom. At the bottom of the article, Terranova attempt at kindly asking their employees and others at solving this case to make the world a better place, but with a simple input of Ctrl+A, much says on Terranova demanding this assistance for their profit to keep the world a prison for us. Remember the Meetup edition from earlier? It talks about that exactly. Tom asking for assistance in his search, he gives clues for people to meet him, that being DJ Nicky G, a streamer who also filmed the entire thing. The crew came across Tom, who hands them 2 comic books and a journal. He hands it over and mentions there being countless Gregs in the facility. Shortly after, people from Terranova stop by to take Tom away.
What's going on? What's going on here?
Did you guys call the police?
We didn't call anybody.
These don't even look. These look like Terranova.
This is just Portland.
Whoa. Come with us. Come on. Whoa, they're a partner.
You guys can't do this.
What's going on here?
What's going on here?
He's contaminated.
Hey, don't get too grabby on me. I'm a delicate flower.
Now, we'll get to the journal later, as the comic books are a reference to another series connected to this one on Barry Saga's channel, which I won't be connecting to our story, but if you want to check it out or solve it yourself, again, links are down below. While we're still on the blog section, is it just me or has the crack expanded? Let's check it out as it's Captain Greg. There's also the option to click on him, which results in a download of the book. We're met with a surprise as every single page of the journal, or rather diary, is presented to us. The diary talks about Captain Greg's survival on a barren planet after the shipwreckage we saw earlier. And while there, he comes across a Terranova briefcase that includes mainly a futuristic gun, screaming candy, and a small TV-like device. The crew start noticing random footprints, assuming it's Terranova's workers somehow teleporting in and out. Another important part is that the planet they're on is compared to Earth. Another way of saying it would be inhabitable. Random events of dead cows and cheeseburgers appearing continue as the crew slowly falls apart. After day 106, Captain Greg loses count and speaks of a man appearing in front of him. The man was looking for his son, although Greg noticed this man was not human. The being apologized to Greg for what happened to him and offers him a ride back home to his family. Captain Greg, having no other choice, accepts, leaving the diary for discovery. Captain Greg's final words are, "You are an impeccable, incredible, fabulous individual. Maybe I'll see you around someday. I wish you the best." All followed by empty pages until the very last one, including images of his best friend and wife. From the diary, it leads me with a theory that Terranova have found an inhabitable planet, a second Earth. But why was Greg there and who was that man? Being encouraged to continue, I head deeper, moving towards other cracks in the web. On about it leads to two images of the egg, showing his shell slowly cracking. Stepping to contact, we have two cracks as well. The left one finishes up the imagery and shows the egg completely shattered, with the screen slightly corrupted. What's up with the second crack though? Usually there's only one per page, and while that seems a bit off already, clicking on it is... whoa. Beyond the Fall, a cult-like design sheet with the starting section calling the raining cow incident a punishment from the universe, just like many other tragedies happening all around the world only because these people are messing with the multiverse. In order to fix things, we as humans need to give up everything up until we are just like cows. Simple and quiet. The following imagery shows a great worship of cows, albeit I believe this is a random cult that is encouraged by Terranova's cow incident, seeing that as holy punishment rather than a universal mess-up from the industry. Oh yeah, there's also a part that tells you what you must give up depending on the month you were born. So whoever is born in April, I'm sorry, you just can't use spoons. Why does my month have a two-step verification? I give up money and donate it too? I feel like I just got a really bad your month, your character TikTok. Saving the best for last, I purposefully skipped the homepage's crack up until now, and you'll see why that is. Selecting it opens up a command prompt. Clicking enter to boot it loads up a Terranova terminal system. We can research the information about the industry, ICE, experiments, and animation. Experiments majorly offered what we're looking for as there's options. Earth summarizes what we're looking at, and OCT only confirms Terranova being behind the cow incident. G429 speaks of an unknown substance being used on subject 84. The answer as to why being tagged out. LGS is the third option, being short for Locate Greg Sellers, stating multiple non-belonging subjects known as 084, aka Greg Sellers, have been spotted in our reality. We can sort through them by inputting a number from 1 to 100, with each different number describing a separate version of Greg, all the way from images of 005 box sellers to 045 Spider Greg, and disturbing voicemails such as 012's Magician Greg, like these are dangerous creatures. Just listen, okay?
Subject 12, please sit down.
Not until you pick a card.
Fine.
Aha! Good choice. I mean, could be anything. Now, watch this.
12, I will not ask you again. We need cooperation if we are to finish the interview.
Was this your card? Oh, ha ha.
Look, you just gotta accept you're not a good magician. It's okay. We can't be the best at everything.
But if I wasn't a good magician, then where's the desk?
What did you do?
Check behind your ear.
Behind my...
Oh, God!
There being all sorts of Gregs, Subject 84 covers our Greg, who is described as the most dangerous individual within the facility, needed to be reminded of his humanity. Some prompts, on the other hand, feed us information which is just icing on the cake. An important prompt would be Jerry, who is not a major character but in a right-hand man-like position to Harold Exden. With it later down, we figure out that Harold is the son of Arthur Exden, the founder of Terranova. Harold Exden picked up where Arthur left off, and it gives Jerry a very high position in the company. The prompt Fane speaks of an entity which poses trouble for Mr. Exden, as Fane is insanely strong and hostile while also looking for the reasons behind the fracturing of our world. Subject 078 even warns a researcher about Fane who's been watching from the void and is connected to a group of enigmatic beings beyond our understanding. The prompt Egg brings a conversation between N, short for narrator, and JS, short for Jerry Shawfield. They converse about N's script being on Greg Sellers and when he should keep an eye out to stop talking. The conversation continues on with the narrator prompt, where the narrator is still labeled as N, but Jerry no longer labeled at all. They speak about the scene where Greg's headache causes the ice machine to malfunction, as N was almost pulled through the device and needed to fight back in order to not let loose. It's too mentioned in here that whoever this narrator is has a conscience, but is limited to the space that can be altered by Jerry or Terranova, giving the narrator a script, information, and instructions. If we return to more Terranova-like activities, under Subject 10, Charlie Hampton's description, there is interest into the subject himself by Mr. Exden, as it's even stated here and on more places that there are rooms for individuals with unique abilities such as Charlie Hampton's. The child subject is later titled as deceased. That causes the researcher for Subject 10 to take a deep look into the archives and come across Operation TAN, an operation for locating, containing, and suppressing children in order to prevent them from becoming uncontrollable or posing risks. It's interesting since it also plays with a spectrogram that states, "There were more of them? Just our luck. Too young to control their thoughts, so we did it for them." It all aims for this idea behind finding children with abilities and then exploiting those said children to manipulate reality. What brings our story to life is searching up the creators of Terranova, Arthur Exden and Hans Grayson. While Hans only talks about naming the company and the potential of the project, it's Arthur that spills the beans, having further mention of the TAN experiment and also possession of the ice machine. While working on it, they begin finding success, starting with pulling items into our world, already having altercations with other realities. All of this was made possible only because of TAN. Arthur mentions hating working with kids, and in the following record stating they managed to pull an item from an alternate reality, meaning that Project TAN ended up working with the possibility of a child being the sole reason for the functionality of the ice. Continuing with his emails, where it shows the process of showing off his discoveries and hiring employees. This talks about also a substance which can connect to the earlier mentioned G429. The substance is again mentioned with the conversation between Harold Exden and Evan Kipps. In the conversation, Harold is wanting to risk drinking the substance in order to take on the said abilities, meaning this is a substance that grants powers, and connecting it with TAN means they were using that to gain a hold of supernatural children to control. As far as that goes, we can also input some names into the terminal, such as Tom and Christine, that go over trying to solve the missing Greg case, and Jack, a detective working on his last case, who interviews Christine and starts digging deeper, finding out Terranova control everything and that the founder Arthur Exden went from being a con artist to owning the largest company in the world with a product 50 years ahead of its time. Something doesn't add up. Now concerned what he has gotten himself into, Christine begins getting visitors that resemble Greg, which follows with her disappearance as Jack realizes everyone works for Terranova, and unless he wants to disappear like Greg and Christine, he'll have to stand down. On the other hand, we're a step too deep in already, so we continue. All the happy music and mood disappears, and so does the usual Greg welcome. A researcher walks into a room with Greg, who doesn't seem like himself any longer. He's asked questions, simply ignoring them and asking where he is, as we transition to footage of other Greg subjects such as 1, 2, and many others. They're all confronted about how they got to our universe, and every single one of them describes it in a similar way, a bright light transporting them to here.
Well, I was flying home with my wife, Chrissy. I was visiting my boy. Before I knew it, this bright light just came out of nowhere, man. Know what I mean? Caught me off guard, like Davy Jones's final journey out to sea.
I had to reassure Christine because she was rather worried. Weren't you, Christine?
Yeah, I was terrified.
Before I could do anything, I was sucked through it and wound up here.
Greg sits in silence as he is described as a trapped, scared, and dangerous man locked in a facility unknown to the public eye. The narrator wishes to reiterate what happened in the last episode, but he's cut off by Greg.
In the last episode, we discovered a reality where Greg became an astronaut, but disappeared under mysterious circumstances. However, in this reality,
we're going to talk about the multiverse. Hi, I'm Greg. But not the Greg you're used to. Your Greg is apparently locked up somewhere.
Who's yet another alternate version that ended up becoming the first person in his reality to discover the multiverse, explaining how dangerous Terranova's experiments are since they don't find realities but rather create them, causing tragedies and alternate timelines to create different scenarios.
They killed my father. There was no car accident. They caused it. There was no movie producer that night at the cinema that led to me, Greg, becoming a famous movie maker. Don't you think it's a tad bit coincidental how these worlds are formed? Terranova is shaping this, causing this, pulling the strings and making us Gregs their goddamn puppets.
The technology used is causing the collapse of the multiverse because of incorrect usage. More footage intercepts the video, now showing the universe collapsing and Greg losing his mind, as we're informed that this technology wasn't made but rather given to them.
They didn't make this technology, they got it from somewhere. And it has to end now. We cannot afford for it to go on any minute longer. The entire multiverse is at stake. And Greg is a part of this whether he likes it or not. They have gotten inside his head and turned his brain to mush. Just like the rest of reality. Terranova needs to be stopped before it's too late.
An emergency alarm rings as the fabric of reality begins breaking down. Hoping to leave, darkness surrounds Greg as he's left all alone in it, panning us out and returning over to an empty chair. With nothing but cold, dead silence. And like always, we follow the link in the description, which caught me off guard more than anything. And when I say it's a mess, I don't mean your high school bathroom. We're talking about Asmongold's room here. Before we start clicking away, the show introduction is completely changed. To start us off, the word multiverse is replaced with boring.
For the past couple of years, the word boring has been appearing more and more frequently in our media.
And that works its way to every word, while the only visual change is the egg being presented when the researcher is talking about a new discovery. Have a look for yourself.
To uncover something that was once considered impossible.
Imagine a simple straight line that continues moving along. This represents your life.
You wake up like
boring,
decide whether to have
boring.
You eventually go
boring.
By making that
boring,
our main line continues
boring,
but a
boring,
new one can be seen.
Boring.
Greg, is that you?
Last few seconds include a female voice saying, "Greg, is that you?" If we take a look back, in one of the spectrograms that I mentioned at the very last bit of episode 3, text is typed that talks as if from a parent figure to Greg. This is a similar lead with the possibility of his mom being a part of this. We've seen all sorts of Gregs from other realities, so what are the chances this is an alternate mother of Gregs? It has me concerned since the already extending issue could be even working its way through others than Greg himself. Returning to the main page, the text we could only see by selecting everything is slowly becoming visible on its own, saying things like, "Wait, I think my messages are malfunctioning. You can see me now?" And from the usual single cracked lines, there's 4 on the main page alone. The very first one plays the video, continuing where Tom was kidnapped by Terranova. And when in the car, Tom pulls out the "I'm an American citizen" card.
I'm an American citizen! Right, sir. I'm an American citizen. I have rights! Listen, there's a little document called the Declaration of Independence. And
To that, it would normally end with awkward silence until Tom starts talking about tunes and who let the dogs out.
You guys got any tunes in this car? You know that song, Who Let the Dogs Out? That's a good one. That's one of my favorites. Really bassy. Do you guys listen to that when you're kidnapping people? How do you guys feel about...
While we're still at Greg's best friend, what about his wife? Christine was labeled as dead earlier. Now what happened before the news is the following call you receive when clicking on one of the strikes.
911, what's your emergency? I'm being followed. Followed? I'm being followed. These 3 men have been sitting outside my office all morning. I'm walking home. I don't know what to do. It's gonna be okay. I need you to take a deep breath for me. Can you tell me your name and how far away you are from home? Christine Sellers. I'm about 3 minutes. They just pulled up. I don't know what to... Okay. Keep walking as you are and stay on the line with me. Can you tell me your address? We'll send a patrol car right away. And Christine, you're doing great. Just hang on a little while longer. Do you have any reason as to why these people would be following you? They're from Terranova. Terranova? Did you say Terranova? Yeah, Terranova Industries. Christine, I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. There's nothing we can do. What? They own the police, Christine. Run. They'll be listening to this call right now. Just run.
Another crack pops out a drawing of Greg, and underneath it, this is not Greg Sellers when translated, with the last one bringing us back to the terminal, which has been updated a tiny bit. The addition of a new command report offers an emergency protocol on a severe earthquake that occurred. As we puzzle to the About section, the text continues the conversation like the person writing these messages is affected as well. Now, the text is completely out of it, but it splits up to 2 run-ons. One talks about Terranova's goals, which also mentions the mindless lies of what Project Earth aims for, and the other which talks about Arthur Exden's discovery, just a bit different. A summary of the experiment interrupted by the talk of the world ending and what we've already seen. Unlike the prior, this page only offers 1 crack in the shell. It's showing a new report from an alternate reality, and the quality of this mystery still surprises me. Have a look for yourself.
Good evening, Rose Lake County. I'm your host, Winston Updates with Rose Lake Action News, bringing you the latest updates on a breaking story that has gripped our community with fear and terror. Greg and Christine Sellers, along with their children, all upstanding members of our community, have gone missing under rather mysterious circumstances, with the family vanishing from their Rose Lake residence just hours ago, leaving a trail of questions, seemingly disappearing into thin air, according to one neighbor. We'll bring you more on this breaking story as it develops. I'm your host, Winston Updates, signing off for Rose Lake County Action News.
That being tragic news, we now do get confirmation that it's not just Greg being affected by Terranova's test. Heading to the following tab, there's 2 key findings here. The new blog, Tom Wilson Arrested, picks at exactly what it's titled. Terranova accused Tom of false accusations such as a meetup of Tom and in Portland, while they do confirm the hidden message at John O'Malley's broadcast being his. The second key finding is the cracked stripe, which is an audio recording, a very silent one where we can hear a bit of ambience. Using the magic Control+A combo, a repetition of 14,046 runs are revealed. Not much of a lead there, as the final things to set our eyes on before the final episodes is contact. A similar glitchy theme, the text writer now feeling worse and stating, "Okay partner, I think I'm gonna lay down. This place is making me feel weird." The disturbingly red Mr. Nova, now with black eyes, seems to stand there as a possible picture of his true nature. The only clue here being another shell crack pop-up video where Tom hijacks a weather report to attempt at exposing Terranova and warning everyone.
Greg Sellers is my best friend, and the world needs to know what's happening in Rose Lake County. And this is just the tip of the iceberg. Terranova Industries is manipulating and tearing the very fabric of reality itself.
But he can't finish his thought as he's cut off mid-sentence.
It's only a matter of time before this entire thing goes dangerously wrong. Who the hell knows what they're doing up there? You need to stop Terranova before it's too late.
It's a pretty rough one. We're stuck in mostly due to the fact the entire multiverse is collapsing since Terranova can't use their tools accordingly and whatever the cracking egg is attempting to get at. The constant hints added lead to the destruction of our world, more at Greg's mother revealed, and even wonders of where Tom ended up after his kidnapping. What has me on edge are the constant warnings, one of the titles being Run Greg, a full site full of the word, and even more past clues hinting towards Greg to be careful. The information at an all-time high now, as we'll connect the dots soon, seeing as we're right at the doorstep to ending the first season of Project Earth. Following the events we witnessed in the prior episode, we're left in the dark just like Greg. He meets the narrator of the show, who is pictured as a robot mixed with human organs.
What are you?
Greg Sellers, an ordinary average, boring.
He feels pain in his head. Asking it to stop and shifting space, he finds himself in a disturbing reality sitting next to a news anchor Tom, which slowly begins a frenzy of breaking space.
Tom, you gotta help me, okay? I'm stuck in some kind of black void, okay? I don't know how to get out. You gotta listen to me.
Watch my ear!
Please!
Stop it! Stop it! Stop!
We see Greg in a cartoon, Captain Greg who's seen alive holding the journal, him on a crime scene and slowly spinning out of control.
Greg Sellers, a boring, pathetic, useless man.
Mocked by the egg, an overload of imagery almost ends up with Greg pulling the trigger. Right before doing so, he is saved by a mysterious man that we've talked about in the past, Thane, who scolds him for the destruction that's being caused.
It wasn't me. It was Terranova.
You think I give a shit? The multiverse is collapsing in on itself. All roads lead to specifically you.
Thane, cleaning up Greg's and apparently his own mess, offers assistance and for the two to work together.
Are you like a space police or like a time agent or something?
No. Let me just say, without blowing your mind, I'm partially responsible for this. So while I am trying to clean up your mess, I'm also trying to clean up my own. All before my people find out.
There's more of you?
Oh yeah. And let me just say, I hope you never meet them, because they ain't as friendly as me.
With them both pairing up now and slowly walking away in the void, the first season's credits roll, showing bloopers and credits, as now all we're left down to is the final source of income, which is going to be the website in the description. Now, in order to locate the very last website we have at Giving Hints, we have to look at the previous one and find ourselves a secret tab at the very far right. Everything is now displayed as error with only 2 clues left for discovery. Both spotted on the blog page is our final audio recording with random ambience and a link on the exact same page that posts up a terminal, a red theme, and not having to boot it up but rather wake him up when clicking enter. A titled TG person speaks in the terminal asking about what's happening and who we are. Responding to the question, the unknown person follows up with the same answer from then on out: "Leave me alone, I do not have time for your games, please stop wasting my time." That is, as long as we enter in incorrect prompts. When asked, "Where are you?" TG's answer is "The Void," and in order to find out his name, the question is, "Do you have a name?" As he's been only referred to as Guardian. Throughout many questions, it's revealed TG is one of the 4 Guardians who held up someone referred to as Fane. That being a name we all recognize as someone who watched over many of the worlds around us, traveling between them and manipulating his surroundings like a god of sorts. Something along the lines of what the mysterious man who was spotted by astronaut Greg could be, and is also written in his journal. When Terranova is mentioned, TG calls out they passed him in the void right before we took control of the terminal. When asking about Greg, the Guardian speaks about seeing him recently, speaking about how Greg was flying through realities, nicely showing that the Guardian is talking in the time after the final video. Also, remember that weird robot mixed with human organs from earlier who was giving the narration voice? If we ask TG about his current form, that's exactly what we're met with. Also showing the other 3 Guardians, assuming that's how he used to look like too. Clues, mysteries, and questions. We've had it all offered up to the table, so how about we start putting them in one big answer and seeing what conclusion we can craft. About 2 million years ago, in an alternate Earth, beings known as Sentinels were worshipped as gods. Among these was an extra one we'll call Sentinel Greg, who resembled Greg Sellers. Though he appeared kind, his dark ambitions posed a threat. He shared his ambitions with another Sentinel we recognize as Fane, who recognized Greg as a threat and, being the only one who knew about his plans, needed to act. Fane instructed the alternate Earth's humans to construct a temple to imprison Greg. Being unable to fully contain him, Sentinel Greg transported the temple and himself to another galaxy, landing under Rose Lake Mountains in our modern Earth, vowing to get revenge on Fane by destroying the universe. Fane began working on a countermeasure. He put one of his 4 Guardians into the ice and gave him his last order to follow all commands put into the device. The Guardian acted as a contact between universes in order to allow contact with Fane. All Fane needed was a human to help capture Greg's powers into a vessel, someone who couldn't decline a good offer. Arthur Exden, a desperate con artist who was promised wealth and power to carry out the mission. Arthur agreed and was given the ice and G429, a substance to transfer Greg's powers into a vessel. Experiment 10 began, testing on children, leading to the creation of Mini Greg, a child vessel for Greg's powers. However, Mini Greg was young enough for Sentinel Greg to control and offered Arthur more than Fane in exchange for revenge. Knowing Arthur's track record, he agreed. Using Mini Greg's limited abilities, Arthur built a massive, powerful company by exploiting advanced technology retrieved from alternate realities, also known as Terranova. The child vessel began to fall apart, as the powers were too much to handle. Later, the experiments were passed down to Arthur's son, Harold, who imagined adult vessels could withstand Greg's power. The perfect candidate was this universe's Greg, the ordinary, average, and boring Greg Sellers, who became the leading point of Project Earth, although having more self-control couldn't be controlled by Sentinel Greg. Testing proved successful, and Greg's powers were put to the test in the first episode, asking him to imagine his dream self, and off of imagination alone, a branched reality was created, after which Terranova abused the open gateway to create more alternate Earths, starting a chain of events like the raining cow incident. As all was slowly unfolding, Sentinel Greg knew Fane would find out eventually. He used whatever powers he could to try and warn Greg, finding no success. Terranova profited immensely but uncovered Greg's temple, discovering Sentinel Greg was still alive and influencing researchers. They continued testing on sellers whose powers spiraled out of control, fracturing reality and pulling 100 alternate Gregs into this world. Greg unknowingly paused the chaos to stop the pain, almost freeing the Guardian from the ice, but the multiverse's collapse intensified. Terranova began facing public issues, even Tom and Christine looking for answers, albeit they were silenced quickly. In all chaos, while Greg was now merging realities as a whole rather than just alternate Gregs, Fane noticed the damage. Realizing Arthur and the Guardian had failed, he intervened as reality collapsed around Greg, stopping further destruction and seizing Greg's vessel to repair the multiverse, determined to prevent other Sentinels from discovering the catastrophe caused by Project Earth. I had so much extra theories, like how the other Sentinels began catching on to what happened, and one of those being Sentinel Greg's dad looking for him, being the entity with Astronaut Greg. Besides that, I also wanted to include some smaller theories like the hidden messages on the website being Terranova employees that were sacrificed to the Whisk, and spin-offs of my theory about maybe Greg being a savior and Fane being the bad guy. Overall, this conclusion ended up being my favorite. I do realize how vast it may be, but it's still something I saw in the range of possibilities while also trying to reach my hand really far outside of what we're given, since I love this series and wanted to make as large of a story as possible in case we don't get a season 2. Hoping we do though, I'll again remind you to check out the creator's channel and support it in any way possible. I also left out the comic book series, so you have some content not covered here to check out, which is just as interesting and includes many more volumes I'll link to in the description. And as I can say that most of my results were reached by myself, if there wouldn't be the amazing community behind this project and their findings, this video would not have been nearly as long or entertaining as it is now. So a huge shout out to the Discord server and everyone there contributing towards such a great online mystery. If you want to have a deeper look, you can join their Discord server, which is also linked below of course. I do advise it since they seem like a very friendly bunch, and as much as I'd love to credit each amazing individual who put work in, there's quite a lot, for which I don't even know who did which part, and if they're by chance watching this, it is very appreciated. But with it, I finished my conclusion on Project Earth. I found this to be my personal favorite outcome, and I am well aware of how broad it may seem, with very possible gaps since there are many mysteries we aren't aware of. Such questions kept up popping for me like, was the ice really given to Arthur by Fane? Another questionable thing is everything about Sentinel Greg and if he's truly the one lending power or if that's the case at all, and why wouldn't Fane just take care of it all by himself? Stacks of unanswered questions, and until there will be a follow-up, that's what I'll conclude with for now. I thank you kindly for watching until the very end. If you have any suggestions for following content to cover, you can always check out my Discord server and suggest it there or down in the comments. In the end, did you agree with my conclusion? And if not, do let me know as of why. If you have any theories yourself, I'm more than all ears to hearing them out. And like always, without wasting any more of your time, I hope you have a great, and I mean great, rest of your day.